If you are familiar with the XX or Jamie XX, then you should be familiar with the name Romy, because the XX were a band in the late 2000s that actually had a bit more influence than I think people realize now. They're not really a name that pops up in conversations, in musical conversations anymore, but that kind of low-key, whispery indie pop sound ended up having quite a bit more impact on, like, you know, Urban Outfitters soundtracks, and I think people really realized there was just something so naturally cool and hipster about their sound. They had a great ear for melodies, and of course we know Jamie XX is an absolute masterclass when it comes to electronic production. He is an artist, I keep saying, needs to put out way more music than he bloody does. We need a new album from him, because In Colour is still fantastic, and to only have that in your discography is such a shame, because we need more music, Jamie. We really, really do. But of course, Romy was the front singer of the XX back in the day, and now years later we get a debut solo album. And I've got to say, shout out to the members of the XX for going solo and putting out really good music on their own, because to be doing this so long after what they were doing with the XX and putting out music that is absolutely worthwhile is super impressive, really, and is great to see. And this album essentially begs the question, really, of what would a Fred Again album sound like if you just put Romy's vocals over them? And the answer is pretty damn great. Yes, Fred Again is a huge name in the UK at the moment, has just seen a meteoric rise with, you know, festivals and being a household name in UK house music. He's becoming a rival to some of the biggest names in the UK now with massive hits. And there's a charting song right now with what's his name? I don't know how, I always forget how you say it. Abonjayar, that really cool artist, that indie artist. He's on a friggin' Fred Again song, and it's in like the top 10 in the UK. Pretty cool to see, honestly. And Fred Again is having such success, and working with Fred Again for a deep house, dance pop house album from start to end is such a clever idea, because you know you're going to get really good production here, and you also know that you're going to get someone with a lot of clout and a lot of respect and a lot of attention at the moment too. And immediately right out the gate, you've got Loveher, which just has these really, really low-key vocals, these really relaxing vocals over such a kind of tepid instrumental, which does have a bit of a oomph to it, but it also moves at a pace that matches Romy's vocals. They're really, really tailor-made for her voice. It's really great to see. And of course, there's so much passion coming out of her voice too, given the subject matter of the song. It just feels so lovely to hear. The lyrics aren't particularly very inventive. They're really simplistic, actually, but for this kind of music, it doesn't necessarily matter too much. I think what matters the most is how the vocalist is selling their passion, more so than anything with this style of music. And yeah, I think Romy kills this track. Honestly, one of the most passionate deliveries on the whole album, and it comes right out the gate. Also important to mention Stuart Price, who has a lot of production over the years with artists like The Killers, Dua Lipa more recently as well, and is on quite a few of these tracks too. So it's not all just about Fred Again, of course. You do have this track which kind of basically sounds like it's a track taken from Actual Life 3 and literally just putting her vocals over it. I mean, that haziness, those vocal samples that are working in. Fred Again is really good at making this kind of euphoric, blissful sound, and Romy is literally made as a vocalist for this kind of thing too. I mean, good God, what a match made in heaven this one is. But of course, Stuart Price is involved here too, as I've said. His influence comes a little bit later on, more so though, which I will get to. But I do want to mention The Sea, which is the track that seems to be one of the bigger, more, I guess, pushed tracks from the album, the main single, as I'm seeing that it's on, you know, the Radio 1 playlist at the moment. You could totally imagine seeing it charting pretty high. I don't know if it will. I don't know if Romy's got enough push behind her, but it's definitely the type of track that should be making its way into the charts. Really great rhythm to this one. So summery. It's such a shame that actually, you know, we're just exiting the summer in the UK, because this track probably would have been more suited for, like, you know, a May, June, July type release or something like that, perhaps. Even still though, great stuff this one, really like it. Reminds me of something Robin Schulz would do. You know, think of a track like Waves, and it has that really like earwormy melody to it, kind of very summery, beachy type thing. This track has that too. We do have a string of tracks that go well into like the trance days of music, or you know, even some like you know, some like Euro dance type stuff too, where we get tracks like Strong, which literally sounds like it came from a Floor Filler album. You know those CD comps? If you're from the UK, you will know what I'm talking about here, from the 2000s. There were loads of them, you know, loads of just like floor filler, dance house type CD comps that just came out like every friggin' 2 days. Like there'd be a new CD comp that would get released and you see it in Sainsbury's and it had loads of like trance dance type tracks on them. This track literally sounds like it would be from one of those compilations. Using the word generic sounds harsh here, because I know it is quite a harsh word, but this track really does sound just like so typical of the genre. It's good, I mean, I'm liking it, I do like the song, but it just sounds very familiar for what it's going for. And then you've got Twice and Did I, which Twice is a bit more low-key, but it really blooms and blossoms into something pretty cool by the end of the track. Then transitioning really slickly into Did I. But yeah, two of these tracks here just feel a bit more like indebted to its influences from those, you know, 90s, maybe early 2000s days of UK dance type music, with trance thrown in there as well. A nice moment as well to see these tracks kind of flow into one another so seamlessly. It doesn't really happen across the album. Would have been cool to see more of it, but I'm not really against it for not popping up as much. But then we get to the final two tracks, which I think are certainly the biggest highlights of the album. I mean, I love the track The Sea. I think that might be my third favourite track on the album, but I think my best tracks for me come right at the end. Enjoy Your Life, which has Jamie XX on it, by the way, has also Stuart Price on it, and this is where I was kind of talking about before, where I want to mention him again later on, because you've got the kind of more disco-ish vibes of this track, which totally makes sense given the fact that he was all over Future Nostalgia, which had some disco influence coming through. The Dua Lipa album, of course, I'm talking about there. And yeah, Jamie XX on this track too. Just really positive vibes, this song. Super simplistic with its lyrics too. My mother said to me, enjoy your life. It's not exactly anything you've not really heard before. But hearing it in this kind of context is quite nice. It's just really positive, good vibes. And it's a great track as well. And then finally, She's On My Mind, which again has similar feels to the previous track too, but just it sounds really like slick in how she's singing, the melody. It just really sticks with you. It's really hooky and it gets you grooving. Just a bit more personality I feel coming out of these two tracks with Romy here. Often she's going for the more passionate, pained, heartfelt delivery, but I think on these two tracks she just kind of lets loose a little bit more and brings out a bit more oomph and personality, which I really like. Not to say the rest of the album isn't good, but I just think I like these two tracks the most for that reason. You do, just to finish things off, have DMC in the middle of the album, which by the way is produced by Corliss. I mean, I don't know if anyone who follows me or keeps up with all my videos, but I reviewed Corliss quite a few years ago. Did not think they were very well known, and they have ended up being on this album, and they're producing a track and it's 30 seconds. To be precise, it's 33 seconds, but it's like, what a waste of a talent. Like, the album was really cool. I just don't know why you'd have this pointless 33-second nowhere nothingness track with such a talent on production. That was such a waste for me. I think that's a huge disappointing letdown. But aside from that, oh, and Beverly Glenn Copeland is on this album too. Again, just a really short snippet of what you could hear from Beverly Glenn Copeland. Look, if I didn't know those names were on these two tracks, it wouldn't be that much of a thing. But to know they're on here, these two talented artists, and they're given nothing. They're given nothing. It makes it a little bit of a letdown, honestly. But aside from that, I think this is a really strong debut, you know. I think Romy killed this album. I really do. I didn't think I was going to like it this much. I was sort of like surprised when I first heard it, because I like Romy as a vocalist, but I just didn't think I was going to like it this much. So a nice surprise for the year for me to see Romy killing it. Great to see, you know, them both leave the XX Jamie as well and have like albums that both are really great. That's really cool to know. But yeah, for me, this is an 8 out of 10. Quite a light 8 out of 10. It's very casual enjoyment, but honestly, some of these tracks have great rhythms, great beats, great vocal performances, just production that is really on point. Yeah, I just think this is a really enjoyable album, quite relaxing in places too, considering it is a bit more like a housey type album, but I'm liking what Romy is doing here. I think she deserves quite a successful solo career. I hope there's some tracks that get quite big from this. We shall see. But that's it from me. That's my review. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you agree with me. And let me know in the comments what you think of this album too. Do you think it's great? Do you think it's not so great? Would love to see your thoughts. Do subscribe if you haven't already. Have a good day and goodbye.